There's a strange grief that comes with standing in your own life and feeling like a stranger. Not because the world has turned unrecognizable, but because you have. Or perhaps it's both. You walk through 2026 with the muscle memory of someone who lived here once, but the rhythm has changed. The signs look different. The conversations sound distant. And somewhere between the person you were and the world you thought you knew, something slipped away. It wasn't sudden, it was quiet. A slow erosion of familiarity. And now you stand here, surrounded by progress, by innovation, by speed, and all you feel is the ache of not belonging to your own time. This is not nostalgia. This is something deeper. This is temporal dissonance, and you are not alone in it. You open your eyes in the morning, and for a moment, everything feels normal. Then the day begins. The news sounds like science fiction. The technology in your hand feels simultaneously essential and alien. The way people speak clipped, efficient, referencing things you don't quite understand reminds you that language itself has evolved while you were looking away. You try to participate, you try to keep up, but there's a lag, a delay between what's happening and your ability to feel present in it. It's not that you're stuck in the past, it's that the present doesn't feel like a place you can inhabit. You exist in it, yes. You move through it, but you don't recognize it. And worse, you're not sure it recognizes you either. There's a term for this feeling, though most people don't know it yet. Temporal displacement. The psychological experience of being out of sync with your own time. Not because you've traveled anywhere, but because time itself has traveled without you. And 2026 has become the year that crystallizes this quiet crisis for so many adults. The year that finally made visible what had been building for years. The sense that we are living in a future we didn't consent to. That we've arrived somewhere without ever deciding to leave. It started long before 2026. Perhaps you remember 2020. The year the world stopped, then restarted in a different direction. The year that stretched time until it broke. Days felt like weeks. Months disappear. And when it was over, except it was never really over, everything had shifted. Work moved into homes. Faces became squares on screens. Touch became dangerous. And the future, which had always felt like a distant concept, suddenly arrived all at once. Technology that was optional became mandatory. Social structures that seemed permanent dissolved overnight. And the pace, which had always been fast, became relentless. There was no time to adjust, no time to grieve, no time to ask if this was what we wanted. We were told to adapt, to pivot, to embrace the new normal. And most of us tried. But adaptation requires time. It requires the nervous system to catch up with external reality. And when change comes in waves, one after another, the nervous system doesn't catch up. It just braces, it just survives. And survival mode, when prolonged, creates a kind of emotional numbness, a disconnection from the present moment. Because the present moment has become too overwhelming to fully inhabit. So you float, you go through the motions, you learn the new tools, the new language, the new rules. But inside, there's a part of you still standing in 2019, looking around, wondering what happened, wondering if anyone else feels this way, wondering if it's okay to admit that you're tired, that you don't want to keep up anymore, that the future feels less like progress and more like loss. The brain is a pattern recognition machine. It builds models of reality based on repetition, predictability, and continuity. This is how we navigate the world without constant overwhelm. We learn what to expect. We internalize rhythms. We create mental shortcuts that allow us to move through life with a sense of coherence. But when external reality shifts faster than these internal models can update, something breaks. Psychologists call it cognitive dissonance. Sociologists call it future shock. Neuroscientists point to the prefrontal cortex, which struggles to reconcile conflicting information about what the world is supposed to look like. And the result is a feeling that's hard to name, a sense of being unmoored, of watching life happen through glass, of knowing, intellectually, that you're still here but not feeling it. This is temporal displacement. And it's not a personal failure, it's a collective neurological response to living through exponential change. The human brain evolved to handle incremental shifts, seasons, generations, slow cultural evolution. But we're living through something different now. We're living through compressed time. Technological revolutions that used to take decades now happen in years. Cultural shifts that once spanned generations now occur in months. And the brain, which is still wired for a slower world, can't keep pace. So it does what it's designed to do in moments of overwhelm. It retreats. It disconnects. It creates distance between you and the present moment as a form of protection. Because if you fully felt the speed of everything, the loss of everything, the strangeness of everything, you might not be able to function. So instead you feel numb, you feel distant. You feel like 2026 is happening to someone else. And in a way it is. There's a part of you that doesn't want to catch up, that resists learning the new platforms, the new etiquette, the new ways of being. That feels a surge of resentment when someone speaks in acronyms you don't recognize, or references cultural moments you missed while you were trying to survive. This resistance is often mistaken for stubbornness, for being out of touch, for aging badly. But it's not that. It's grief in disguise. It's the psyche's way of saying, I haven't finished processing what was lost. I'm not ready to move on. And I need you to stop asking me to pretend everything is fine. This is the quiet rebellion of not keeping up. It's not laziness. It's not weakness. It's a boundary. A refusal to perform enthusiasm for a world that doesn't feel safe, doesn't feel familiar, doesn't feel like home. And beneath that refusal is something deeper. Exhaustion. The kind that comes from years of adapting without rest. From learning new systems, new norms, new versions of yourself over and over again, without ever being asked if you wanted to. From being told that resistance is failure, that hesitation is falling behind, that grief is something to get over quickly so you can keep producing, keep performing, keep participating. But the part of you that resists knows something important. It knows that moving forward without mourning what was left behind creates a fracture, a split between who you are and who you're pretending to be. And that fracture over time becomes a chasm. So you stop trying, you let yourself fall behind. You stay in the old rhythms, the old references, the old ways of being. Not because you can't change, but because you haven't been given permission to grieve. And until you do, moving forward feels like betrayal. The turning point doesn't come with fanfare. It comes in a small, quiet moment when you finally stop fighting yourself. When you realize that the dissonance you've been carrying isn't something to fix. It's something to acknowledge, to honor, to let exist without shame. You don't have to love 2026. You don't have to feel excited about the future. You don't have to keep up. What you have to do is give yourself permission to mourn. Not just the past, but the present. The version of now that you thought you'd be living in. The future you imagined when you were younger. The world that felt like it was moving towards something you recognized. All of it is worth grieving. And grief, when allowed, doesn't paralyze. It clarifies. It creates space. It lets you stop pretending and start being honest about what you actually feel. Which is tired. Which is lost. Which is longing for something you can't quite name. This is the permission you've been waiting for. You don't have to belong to 2026. You don't have to make sense of it. You don't have to integrate every change, adopt every innovation, or embrace every shift. You can exist in the gap. You can live in the in-between. You can be someone who remembers a different world and carry that memory forward without apology. Because the alternative, forcing yourself to adapt at a pace that harms you, only deepens the fracture. It tells the most sensitive, aware parts of yourself that their feelings don't matter, that their grief isn't valid, that their resistance is wrong. But it's not wrong, it's human. And it's okay to move slowly. It's okay to opt out. It's okay to build a life that feels quieter, smaller, more familiar than what the world is asking of you. This isn't giving up. It's choosing yourself. Healing doesn't mean you suddenly recognize 2026. It doesn't mean the dissonance disappears, or the world starts feeling like home again. It means you learn to create continuity within yourself. Even when everything outside is shifting, you find small anchors, rituals that remind you who you are beneath the noise. A morning routine that hasn't changed, a book that feels like an old friend, a walk in a place that still looks the same. These aren't distractions, they're tethers. They're how you build a sense of home in motion, how you stay connected to yourself when the world feels unrecognizable. And slowly, something shifts. Not the world, but your relationship to it. You stop expecting 2026 to feel right. You stop waiting for the moment when everything clicks back into place. Instead, you accept that this is what it is, a time of transition, a time of strangeness. A time that future generations will look back on and say, that must have been so hard. And it is hard. But you're still here. Still feeling, still noticing, still capable of tenderness, of reflection, of quiet resistance. You begin to see that the people around you, the ones who seem so fluent in this new world, are often performing too. That beneath their confident navigation of 2026, many of them feel the same dissonance, the same exhaustion, the same longing for something slower, something simpler, something that doesn't require constant adaptation. And in that recognition, there's relief. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're just awake. Awake to the cost of speed. Awake to the losses that progress demands. Awake to the reality that belonging to your own time is no longer a given. It's something you have to choose. And sometimes, the most honest choice is to say, I don't. Not fully. Not yet. And that's enough. There's a strange beauty in not belonging, in being the person who feels the weight of time passing differently, who notices what's been lost while others celebrate what's been gained, who carries the memory of a slower world, a quieter rhythm, a way of being that no longer fits. This isn't failure. This is depth. This is what it means to be human in a time of rapid change, to feel the friction, to resist the pressure to move on before you're ready, to honor what's been left behind even as the world rushes forward. The adults who can't recognize 2026 anymore aren't broken. They're bearing witness. They're holding space for complexity in a culture that demands simplicity. They're refusing to pretend that progress doesn't come with grief. And that refusal, that resistance, that quiet rebellion, it matters. Because someone has to remember. Someone has to say, this used to be different. We used to be different. And that difference is worth acknowledging, worth mourning, worth carrying forward. You may never feel at home in 2026, and that's okay. Home isn't always a place. Sometimes it's a feeling, a memory, a version of yourself you still recognize in quiet moments. And you can carry that with you. You can let it live alongside the strangeness, alongside the loss, alongside the dissonance. You don't have to resolve it. You don't have to make peace with it. You just have to let it be. Let yourself be. Let this strange, unrecognizable time be exactly what it is, and know that in feeling lost, in feeling displaced, in feeling like a stranger in your own life, you're more connected to the truth of this moment than anyone who's pretending otherwise. This is the poetry of not belonging, and it's yours.